What is our industry doing? Can you give us three highlights of big things, big actual changes we're doing towards countering climate change?
If you look at business aviation, our first adoption of a sustainable aviation fuel, both by the manufacturers who are all using it in their facilities, whether it's in their production facilities or in their maintenance facilities. We're setting the example and leading the way on that, but also being able to try to work things policy-wise, especially in the US, but also in Europe, to be able to stimulate more production of sustainable aviation fuel from the different feedstocks that we have out there to allow us to get to a supply and demand curve that allows the price, because we know there's demand, to allow the price of sustainable aviation fuel to come down to a more competitive level. So I'm very proud of that fact. But then the other part of our business aviation commitment to climate change is the technology pillar. And if you look at the sand charts that we produce out there, the technology piece of this starts to get much larger in the 2030s. So what are we doing there? Well, obviously we're taking and lightening aircraft up, which makes them more fuel efficient, but we're also doing exciting things on the engine front to be able to increase efficiency and capitalize on some of the chemical properties of sustainable aviation fuel to allow these engines to burn cleaner. But then also we're finding that the electrical power you can stimulate or produce off of a spinning turbine can be used to augment thrust. So I think that we will see in the very near future new designs of aircraft that also have thrust augmentation, because once you get up to cruise altitude, to be able to sustain that cruise, you can use electric power to be able to provide that augmentation that allows you to be even more efficient. And then of course what we're doing for advanced air mobility on the smaller aircraft side is being able to pioneer the technologies that then will matriculate up to regional transportation. So we're operationally using gaseous hydrogen, hydrogen fuel cells, and then working very hard on battery technology to make them lighter, more efficient, and safer from a thermal runaway type of propagation. So I'm really proud of what we're able to do, and the leaps in technology happen with each new product introduction, and that happens very rapidly in general and business aviation because we have a lot of companies competing out there compared to what our commercial brethren are doing, which is just a tougher problem for the big, whether it's Boeing or Airbus. The new product introduction is just not as rapid because it's just a more complex problem.
And to be very clear, I've heard a misconception that engines cannot run on sustainable aviation fuel. Would you correct that, please?
Now we're limited. Sustainable aviation fuel, a lot of people are concerned. We've had a lot of publicity out there of engines are running on 100% SAF. Right now, if you buy SAF out there, you're buying a blend of what's called the neat additive and traditional Jet A. So we're restricted at this point up to a 50% amount of the neat additive to regular Jet A to be able to produce. It's then recertified under an ASTM standard to be jet fuel. In the future, we will be able to go beyond the 50%, but we have to make sure that our legacy aircraft are compatible with going to 100%. All of our fuel seals, the whole system, it's not just the engine itself. So we will be doing a lot of testing. I know the military, our militaries around the world are going to be able to be a part of that as well, because we will all eventually get there, and we have to get there. All of aviation, whether it's commercial, business aviation, or military aviation, we're all going to, at a certain point in time, be operating on 100% SAF blend.
We're at a trade show where conversations happen to create change and positive change. How committed are you personally and the leadership team at NBAA to a positive impact on the climate as much as we can have?
Well, just being here in the UAS booth, I just learned something new today, that they're actually providing free services if someone is committed to using SAF. I mean, that's great, because as we all, when we gather together, we find out, we learn from each other and get and rally support around all of us being able to be fully on board and fully committed to our sustainability journey. And that's where I think, whether it's based here in Geneva or whether we do the same thing in the fall out in Las Vegas, the more we talk about it and get everybody interested in it, the more we'll have solutions out there that the whole industry works toward. And that's really where we all need to go. It's important for us to sort of, as an industry, but also for people to understand that aviation is one big ecosystem, and so our supply chain is very much linked to how well our airlines are doing. One of the problems we're having in supply chain now was generated because the airlines weren't flying during the pandemic. We were still flying, but a lot of our suppliers, we share suppliers, ended up going out of business during that time, and we're trying to regenerate that. We all depend on one another.
Pete, thank you for being part of this conversation and this journey.
It's always a
appreciate
pleasure,
you.
Liz. It's
Thank
always
you.
great to see you.